Hey everyone, it is Thursday, and that means we tackle very important topics with Jonathan Twomley. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good, good, good. So, it's Thursday. We don't yet have the top job selected for the presidency. I think it is obviously leaning one direction. But for me, I think it is clear to say we are going to have a split Congress, right? And that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. Any thoughts on that before we get into the question?
Well, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's the way it is probably going to wind up. I mean, it's looking now like there may be two runoff elections in Georgia, and if the Democrats run the table, then they'd get to the 50. I don't see that as very likely, but it's still possible, right? So there's that. But I agree with you. Most likely, we're going to wind up with basically we've swapped out presidents, but everything else basically stays the same. And and I think as a result of that, I mean, that has obviously implications for policy going forward. So let's run through some.
Yeah.
Some of
So
the
the thing I want to talk about is we've already kind of done a video, a stimulus video about, hey, if Trump wins, which again is still possible, we both think that a stimulus package done by Christmas is likely. I'm going to assume that's a still belief of yours, and then we'll take the other side. Is that still true if Trump pulls
yeah. If he pulls it off, I think there's going to be a stimulus package of some kind for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that
hasn't changed. Yeah, I agree. So we've already talked about that one. Go look at Jonathan Twomley. He has an entire playlist on my channel with over 20 hours of material. Go look that up. Now the interesting question, because I've never thought about this one. Okay, Biden wins, Congress stays split. What happens to the stimulus deal? And I think that's interesting. And I think I think the biggest decision point for me, and I'll let you share, is does Trump want to run again? Right. There's some talk about, hey, it was close enough. Half the country loved him. Does he want to run in 4 years and get this, the taste out of his mouth of losing? I had not thought about that until this morning. And I'm like, oh, I wonder. So again, not calling the fact that he lost. I'm just playing, hey, Biden wins. My first choice is, does Trump want to run again in 4 years?
It's actually funny you mentioned that, because I had the same thought the other day when I was thinking about who on earth is going to run for the nomination for the Republican Party in 4 years, right? And there's probably a lot of people out there who want it, but I actually can't really think of anybody who really stands out as having any kind of really big mojo within the party who isn't sort of a retread. And maybe we'll get some retreads, but I think a lot of those guys are kind of done. And then I realized Trump constitutionally can still serve another term.
Absolutely.
And it's happened once before. We had Grover Cleveland, right, who served 2 non-consecutive terms. We haven't had a party renominate the same person for a very long time. I think the last time it happened was in the 50s with Adlai Stevenson. Tom Dewey was nominated 2 times by the Republicans, Adlai Stevenson 2 times by the Democrats. It's interesting that the people who have not been nominated 2 times both lost both times, right? But I guess the thought was, well, they lost by, it was close, things had gone a different way, they would have won, they're still the strongest candidate, right? So we'll run them again. I think, look, if Trump were to run for the nomination again, I think he'd stand a really good chance of winning it, right? And
I do too.
And the issue obviously is, does he want the job again?
That's the question.
Also, the guy is going to be what? He's going to be 80. Right?
Well, here's the deal. He's going to be the same age as Biden is now.
Yeah.
I mean, just logically speaking, right? He'll be whatever it is, 78 or 82. I forget how old Biden is, but But yeah, I think it all boils down. And again, the stimulus question, which is the question of this video, all boils down in my mind, does Trump want to run again? And again, this assumes he loses. I'm not calling he lost. I'm just saying we've already answered that question. If Trump wants to run again, my suspicion is he gets a stimulus package done in the lame duck session because he wants his name on the check.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I hadn't thought about that at all. I mean, in terms of future, sort of his future political career. And it's a really good question. I mean, before I answer what I think, I mean, are you suggesting if he doesn't want to run again, he's going to say, I'm just taking my football and going home.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to sign it.
And again, I think that is the decision tree. Does Trump want to run again? Does he see his future? He wants to, because he doesn't like to lose. Nobody likes to lose. Does he want to wash the taste out of his mouth and run again? Or two, does he like, hey, I'm a billionaire. That job sucked. I don't want to do it again. I'm torn apart by the media all the time. F those people. I'm going to go live on my island. And if that's the case, because I think it's that binary with him. I don't think there's gray with Trump ever. If he wants to run, he wants his name on the check. If not, he is going to be upset for the next 3 months and nothing gets done. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there is a risk with Trump that if he's not happy, he just won't do. He'll just say like, "Screw you," you know.
Yeah.
Like, so if he loses, that he's just gonna, you know, not want to play ball with anybody. I don't know. I mean, look, I was focusing more on sort of what McConnell's going to do rather than what Trump is going to do.
Sure.
And I think with McConnell, there's also some variables, right? Which is, I think McConnell would actually like to deliver a stimulus package. And he's already come out and said, like, hey, we got to get this done by the end of the year. This is our top priority. I mean, look, I don't know any of these guys personally, but I mean, there's also some in the background, like maybe McConnell is not so unhappy to see Trump go.
Right.
And you know, so he's, you know, now he's saying, oh, we have to deal with the Democrats. Right. And so, and maybe he's thinking, okay, like Trump is off my back now. So I can, and I'm the top guy now for the Republicans.
He is the top guy. Yeah.
So, so I'm going to do things the way that I want. He's saying that this is a top, you know, it was yesterday he was quoted as saying, this is our top priority by the end of the year. We have to deal with the Democrats. Now, we also know that they have a very different ideas about what they want to pass. Democrats have a much fatter bill. The Republicans have a much skinnier bill. The Democrats were actually much closer to Trump. They weren't that far apart. I mean, the Democrats were negotiating with Trump and not with McConnell directly, right? So because they were a lot closer with Trump, and I guess their thought was we could get a deal done with Trump and Mnuchin, and then they'll kind of force McConnell to take it. Sorry, my phone.
Okay.
And they'll force McConnell to take it. Now McConnell is like, hey, I'm the top guy.
I'm the guy.
assuming Biden wins.
Yeah.
And now you got to come to me, right? And so we're going to get a deal done that looks like what I want. But they've been very far apart. I guess it kind of is all going to come down to whether they're going to compromise, like, but then you've thrown this monkey wrench into the thing is like, well, is Trump going to sign it? And that's something I had never even thought of before, whether that would be a risk in all of this. I do think, even putting that aside, because I don't actually really know how to answer that question. I really don't.
That's okay.
My assumption is that he would sign it if McConnell says sign it, and his advisors saying, look, you don't want to leave.
Yeah, you don't want this to be your legacy.
Yeah, you don't want to leave having like the last significant thing you do be that you said screw you to the American people and didn't sign the bill. So I don't think it matters so much now. Okay. Now I'm answering my own question. I don't think it matters so much whether he wants to run again. I think he's probably not going to want to leave office.
Okay,
being that guy, right? So,
that's fair.
But I do think, on the other hand, I think there is another risk here because of the divided Congress now, where I think McConnell would like to do this by the end of the year because he wants this to have Trump's name on it and not Biden's name on it.
Agreed.
And so, because I think the game plan, if you just saw, we went through 8 years of this already under Obama. The game plan for McConnell is not give these guys any wins at all, so we can claim that they accomplished nothing and run against that. And that's the playbook. And I think, the only difference is that now it's Biden instead of Obama, and Biden was the vice president at that time. It's all just going to go back to where it was, 4 years ago as if Trump never happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to go back to this gridlock, I believe, where like everything is going to be fought over, even like extending the debt ceiling. You're going to have all this craziness all over again, where it's all gamesmanship and everybody's trying to like make the other side look bad, and it's all about politics. I think we're going to go back to that, and that puts stimulus at risk, frankly, because if it doesn't get done by the end of the year. So
okay, I think that's very logical. So so we both agree stimulus by the end of the year, likely.
Yeah.
Trump's name on it is important to the people in office today. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So then the question becomes, okay, I guess there's two questions I have. First, again, Nancy, Mnuchin, and Trump were kind of negotiating call it a $1.82 trillion stimulus package. I personally don't see the package getting done by the end of the year. Close to that. I don't think there's been anything that's happened in the economy to take Mitch or the Senate off the, you know what, the economy's doing pretty well. We've had no scary unemployment numbers, no big whoopses. The stock market's up again, crazy. And, so I'm going to put the stimulus bill at 1.5 or less. I don't think it's the massive 2.
Yeah. I mean, look, can any bill get through the Senate is a question, because in what McConnell proposed the last time didn't get through the Senate because the Senate Democrats didn't think it addressed the things that need to be addressed, and some Senate Republicans thought it spent too much money.
Yep.
Right. So it was a bipartisan rejection of McConnell's proposal.
Yeah.
So we do have to really ask the question, like, given the current composition of the Senate, and the composition of the Senate is not going to change very much, because, so far we've got one flip seat and there's been a couple of retirements. That's it. And no, 2 flip seats, actually. I'm sorry.
One both.
But actually, no, but McSally's going down, looks like, in Arizona.
Okay. Right.
And then Hickenlooper won in Colorado. So those are two flips, but not enough. It goes from 46 to 48. So there's a little bit, and the Doug Jones is out in Alabama. So there's a little bit of composition change, but not much. Personality is still the same. Leadership is all the same.
Yeah.
So it's given the composition of the Senate, does anything that anyone propose?
Yeah. So that's the next question is Nancy's all or nothing approach pre-election, I think, is out the window. That's a non-starter. Now it's about what are the 6, what are the 4, what are the 3 things we agree on? Because the crazy thing is the House, the Congress, and the president all had some things they agreed on.
Sure.
Right. So that's why I think it's very likely that a bill will get done, but it'll be about where there's commonality and not differences.
If they all want to get something done, right? If they do, they'll have to wind up, and there'll be some horse trading around the margins, of course.
A little.
But yeah, I mean, it'll have to go that way, or else nothing will happen. And a lot's riding on this, certainly for the rental business, whether it's multifamily or single family, if those additional unemployment checks don't continue to come, then there's going to be hard times, certainly for some classes of multifamily. And I think one other question is, well, looking forward to 2021, even if a stimulus bill gets done now, do we get stimulus number 3 if it's needed? We come June, if we're still in this situation, is there going to be more money or not? Or is, and how does that play out? Is that then when you get the, I'm Mitch McConnell and I don't want to give the Democrats a win, versus, Nancy Pelosi, I want, and Joe Biden, we want more money in this thing. And then I think at some point you're just going to run into, at some point, the general Republican default position of, we just don't want the government to spend money.
Yeah.
Right. Like, independently of any of this other stuff, I think there comes some point where, like, the will to spend more government money is just going to run out amongst Republicans, because that's just general default position, right? So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Stimulus is going to be an important topic. So I think what we're saying is we both think something gets done by Christmas. I think all parties want Trump's name on it for various different reasons. The American people need it. So yeah, I think that's where we're at. Is that fair kind of rough summary?
Yeah, I think where we wind up is that it'll get done by the end of the year.
Very cool. All right. That's topic number 2, folks. Thank you very much, Jonathan.